Hey soulmates, welcome to another episode of our premium free tutorial. In this episode, we are going to make this beautiful top together. Okay, so like we all know, we have to start with our basic foundation, which is our basic bodies. Okay, so at this point, I'm using the shoulder dart basic bodies technique, which I have to transfer the shoulder dart to the bust dart. So if you are using a bust dart in your own case, then you are good to go. You don't have to transfer it to anywhere anymore. So that's basically it. After that, you have to elongate the length of your top by extending it downwards like 2 inches, okay? Just to make it longer because it has some kind of band vibes like that. Okay, then you extended that length. After that, on the side seam, you move up for like about 4 inches or five. Then at the center front, you have to get the middle of your center front. Then move up by 6 or 5 inches, depending, just 1 inch higher than the one you move up with at the center, at the side rather. Then you connect it just the way I did. After that, we have to connect another line. You can see the way I'm rolling the arrow as a guideline for myself. So you connect a line towards there, just like this. Okay. After doing that, the next thing you have to do is to connect another slash lines from the shoulder. Just get the midpoint of your shoulder. That's fine. Okay. So you get your long ruler and rule it towards your first that leg. Just follow my arrow. Okay. Rule it towards the first that leg. After doing that, the next thing you have to do is to label. At this point, I feel like we should have to label every lines we are ruling because it's going to get kind of confusing at some point. So the first line I rule initially, I label it as A. The second one is B. Then you go to the arm hole, at least probably the midpoint of your arm hole. You rule another line towards the bust point. You label that as C. Okay. So from the bust point of the other side with of the right side, you roll it towards almost towards the center front, just like that. You can see that it does not get to the exact center front. Okay, then I label that one as D. So you can see the difference between the distance between the center front and where I roll that one. Okay, so don't roll it towards the exact point. Okay, so at this point I need another slash line here, but I want to differentiate it with a different color, which is why I use this color to make sure to differentiate it, that okay, that part is my right side and that part is my the blue part is my right side and the red side is my left side. Okay, then I label it as E and F, the last two lines I ruled just now. Okay, the next thing I have to do now is to trace out my pattern on another paper, at least that side exact point I'm tracing right now. Okay, those are the points I need because the right and left has intersect into each other, so I won't be able to continue my drafting procedure until I trace one out of the major pattern. Okay, which is why I choose to trace the smaller part out of it, just like that. Okay, so you have to trace it out at this point so you won't be confused about the whole thing. By the time I rule it out, you will see that I actually trace the exact same thing I have on that pattern. Okay, having done that, I'm sure you can see the similarity between that one and this part. So I just had to do this because that is the only way I can comfortably continue my drafting process. Okay, and don't forget to signify that okay, that is your letter E or step E and step F. Okay, so then at this point I'm trying to cut out my pattern piece. Just follow everything I did here one after the other. You will definitely get it. Especially when you are a beginner, it might seem complex to you, but if you follow it one after the other, you'll probably get it. Hopefully, it's basically for advanced designer. Okay, so then I had to just start cutting this other side since I don't have to be bothered about the other side that intersect anymore. So I'm sure you can follow up the way I'm cutting my slash lines. Okay, so at this point, I have to cut it to at least just cut it to the edge, just like that. Okay, then I have to continue my cutting process Be careful, don't cut more than what you actually drafted, okay? So that's basically, I'm trying to be careful. I'm trying to figure out the exact thing I'm doing, and so I won't make things complex for myself, okay? So that is the other line I'm trying to cut out now. So at this point, you notice that we still have our bust stats. Of course, we have to close our bust stats, right? So at this point, I'll be closing my bust stats with a tape. So after closing your bust stats, okay, so after closing your box that, then you cut the line you rule in the first place we start drafting this pattern. Remember that I said you should come up by 4 to 5 inches at that waistline, at the new waistline rather. So that is the line I cut out right now. So you can go back to the beginning and notice the line I actually cut out here. The next thing is for me to spread out my pattern on another paper. I had to just use another color of paper so it can be glaring to you all and you can see it vividly. So at this point, your major target is the first spread lines or fourth spread paper, and the last one. You get it now. Okay, so I've spread it out. There is really no guidelines for the amount of spreadness you have to have here. Just do it the best way you can. Okay, just to have that gatherings. Actually, I feel like it's so the gathers I have on this top is quite much for the size I wanted it for. So you can see the first one intersects, like it aligns. You can see it aligns with the other first one. Then the one on the bottom part also aligns, but it does not meet each other. Okay, so you don't have to bother yourself making it join together. Okay, at this point I have to just rule my lines just like this. Okay, so you have, it is just like truing, it is more like you are trying to true your line, and also make sure you have at least a sharp point at that edge. You have to have a sharp point because there should be a notches right there. Okay, this part, so I'm trying to through my line. Also, I would make sure I have at least a sharp point at that edge. You can see it has some kind of sharp edge. Okay, I had to come down at the side seam a little bit so that I can have that enough sharp edge that I want. By the time I cut it out, you notice what I'm talking about in case you're not getting it at this point. You can see the way I'm cutting it. There should be a sharp edge over there at the top part and at the bottom part, okay? Because it is really necessary as a guideline in the sewing process. Then I have to show the shoulder line because it has bent as well. So I have to show it by making it straight. This is what we call train of pattern. So I'm trying to through my patterns right here. Okay, so yes, this is the result of our pattern, and this is exactly what we are trying to draft. So you can see the sharp edges I have right there. Okay, so that's more like a guideline for you in the sewing process, like I said earlier. So you get to understand when we get to the sewing procedure. So indicate your seam allowances. Indicate that you have to call times two of your pattern. Okay. So of course you have to call times two of it to make your full front. And don't forget that this is more like a crop top. It is not a top that gets to the bottom part, except if you want to be creative. So at this point, I have to extend, or maybe extend my shoulder length at least by half inch probably. Okay, then you can see the way I did it. I extended it, and also I did the same thing at the back. Extend it more like, if your shoulder is 14, just make it something like 15 at this point because it's a kind of free top, or should I say a shift top. Yes, the side seam also you have to had about at least half inch. Then also at the arm hole, you have to drop it down just to have more ease at the arm hole. Okay, you can see what we have here. So the heels has to be there because it's a shift top. It has to be very comfortable on whoever is wearing it. And yes, our back pattern is absolutely ready. So let's move on to the sleeve. At the sleeve, you have to come down. Remember that you come down at the armhole of your front bodies and the back bodies, right? So you have to come down at the armhole of your sleeve as well. Also, the sleeve cap, you have to come down because we want it to be not we want it to be kind of free. You can say I had to bring out my sleeve width as well, so you have to do all this to make sure your sleeve is free enough for you to um for whoever that is wearing it. You can see the sleeve cap is kind of wider than it was in the first place. Then the length is longer than it was, the width is wider than it was. And yes, this is the result of it after cutting it out. As you can see, I added my seam allowances, and that is basically it. Yes, at this front, we are definitely starting from the front part, right? So at this point, the first thing we have to do is to notch. I forgot to notch that point. I will notch it now. You will see. I forgot to notch that point that I said it should be a guideline for us in the sewing process. I forgot to notch it, but I will be doing that right now. So that's exact points I rule and harrow. Yes, you have to notch it because you have to. It is very important for you during this sewing procedure. Then I will be notching the other side as well. Make sure everything is aligned, please. This should be done during the cutting process. Okay, I think okay, yeah. So you notch it, can see. So now let's follow the sewing procedure. At this point, you have to be very, very careful. Free your mind at this point, so you won't get it twisted. Okay, so it doesn't seem confusing to you. The first thing you have to do is to join the center front at the upper part. You join it from the neckline towards that notches right there. Okay, you can see you join it like that. After joining it, you lay it on the table just to start aligning it one after the other. I'm sure it's going to be confusing, but then just take your time and trust me to break it down for you. So I had to just label it with a shock, like how and hell, probably right side and left side. Okay, so everything won't seems confusing to you too much. So at that point, that's you have to fold the band of the right side just like this. You can see with the way I did it. You fold it. Let me start again. You can see that that is the right. I had to take the head end of the right just like that. I took it together. I folded it together into two. Can you see? So after folding it into two like that, then you have to join it. You can see that there is a notches there. Remember that we have notches at that bottom part as well. That notches is enough for you as a guideline. So there is a notches on the left side as well. So you from the side seam, from the edge of the side seam right there, you pin it down towards the notches of the left. That's middle. That's notches right there. Okay. So the notches has to match at this point. You can see what I did. Don't get it twisted. Just rewind the video, watch it again. You will definitely get it. It seems kind of. I had to just delete and do the video again and again, just to make sure you all get it right. Okay, so if you're not getting it right, don't hesitate to ask questions. I don't mind using paper, two different colors of paper to explain further. Okay, so you can see that I've joined it. So after joining it, remember the way I asked you to join it, the same procedure you followed, joining the right side, you have to follow the same procedure on the left side as well. Because and also be very careful at this point so that you won't join it facing the right side instead of the wrong side. You can see I almost made the same mistake here until I discovered that oh that will end up showing at the front or right side instead of the wrong side. Okay, so you're joining it from the side seam towards the notches right there. Okay, you can see it is very, very simple to make. So I've joined it, and this is the result we got at this point. It is looking so beautiful, even right now. You can see I love this top so much. Okay, so then the remaining procedure, I'm sure you all know how to move, go around here, like walk around here to join the shoulder, the side seam, then fix the sleeve, and that is basically all you have to do on the front, on the remaining part of this top. Oh, yes, I would like to use this opportunity to remind you all of our upcoming food art manipulation course that is coming soon. So if you join us in the class, you definitely all these things will definitely be like a piece of cake to you. And yes, before I forgot, this is the result of our top, as you can see, and this is what it looks like on the miniature. Miniature is my one and only model, so it's looking so beautiful on it. Thanks for watching. And please don't forget to share, like, and comment. If you have any other question regarding this stuff, please ask me. If you want me to explain again, I'll definitely find time to explain because it is really kind of very, very simple. Okay. Bye for now. Happy learning. Best of luck.